Tech Nuggets, Office 365. Talking about Office 365 today. And I had a number of people ask me, well, why would you make a video on that? And there seems to be two categories of people that have sort of wound their way through Office 365 and what it means and what it does, and those that haven't. And so that's kind of why we're doing this video, to bring everybody kind of onto the same page with what it is. Truth is, Office 365 is a fancy marketing and branding term that for a family of products. Office 365 is part of that brand family. A number of large companies like VMware and others have these overarching terms that go with this brand marketing and things like that. So it can be a little confusing. People talk about Office 365 like it's some magical thing, and it goes with the cloud, which also is not that magical, but often people get duped into feeling like it's somehow magical and out there on the internet and elves run it or something. I'm not quite sure on that one. The truth is, a lot of Office 365 has to do with the change of the way software is being sold. Software in the past, in the early 2000s and before, was the kind of thing you bought like a loaf of bread. You bought it, you brought it home, you used it, you could use it as long as you wanted, as long as the operating system supported it, you were good. And if an update came out, you could buy it or not. And that works really well until somebody makes an amazing piece of software that no one ever wants to upgrade from. And then the company goes out of business because their revenue stream dries up. So subscription-based software has been the future of software. It keeps the company in business. You don't pay $400 a copy for Office. You pay $60 a year, which feels like they're bleeding you with leeches, but they're not. Truthfully told. They can offer you new updates to software as it comes along on a more incremental basis, and everybody stays in business. Office applications. So the old way was desktop applications, where we would install Word on your desktop, and you'd have a desktop version of Word and Excel and PowerPoint and things like that. And with Office 365, they've offered a couple of different ways to go about doing this, and there's a reason for it that I'll get to at the end. But Office, the desktop version, which is kind of the old way, was one way to install Office, where you could install Word and, you'd get patches through Microsoft every once in a while and Word features and stuff like that. And that's the desktop version. And it still exists. There are web versions of Word. You can open a browser. You can work with Word that way. It is a little more feature limited, but it has the benefit of being plugged in directly to your OneDrive, which comes with your Office 365 subscription. They give you a terabyte, currently a terabyte, of space in the cloud. And they're really encouraging you to go and use the web version and save all your stuff in OneDrive. And that way you never have to worry about, is it on my machine? And if my machine crashes or whatever, your data doesn't go with it. It goes with, your data's all up in OneDrive, where Microsoft has it safely in their ecosystem where they can mine it for your personal data, no doubt. OneDrive is the new way. And we're going to do a separate Tech Nugget on OneDrive and what that means and how it works, and that kind of stuff. But with the web version of it, it's much easier to access your OneDrive files. There is a desktop version of OneDrive you can download so that the desktop versions of your apps can get access to Word documents, Excel documents, and things like that. There are some limitations. There are some web versions of the software that don't function the same way. Most notably, currently in 2020, Web Excel does not play as nicely as desktop Excel. It doesn't do some of the fancy formulas and some of the fancier things. And so people have found that, I have to download it. Desktop Excel in order to manage and work with some of those things. There is no such thing as a web version of Access. A lot of people don't use Access much anymore, but there are still some people that use it. There is no web access, period. On the other hand, the web version of PowerPoint and the web version of Word work really well. For most people, those features exist. They work really well. There's almost no reason to use the desktop version of Word or PowerPoint. They work pretty much the same online as they do in person, or on the desktop version rather. And oftentimes we get away from things like font problems because the web version keeps all the fonts and worries about it and that kind of stuff. So I did a little digging online to try to understand what are the different payment models and how do they change. And Office 365 is the subscription based, and you get desktop and web versions of that. There is still Office 2019, just like there was Office 2016, which is the previous version. It's a one-time purchase for one machine. So, and that's a desktop version only, and it never gets updates. So the next time they roll out new things for Office, Word, whatever the next version of Word is, you won't get it, which is standard. That's the way it used to work, and that's, the way it works currently. There is also Office Online, which I didn't know a lot about, but did a little digging on. It's basically a freebie version so that if you, as a paying customer of Office 365, share a document with somebody, a Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they can go open it without actually purchasing Office. And that's kind of interesting. I haven't played with the Office Online version, but it's definitely aimed at the web version only and lets you collaborate with basically non-subscribers, non-purchasers of the web-based version. Office 365 is an umbrella term we use for a variety of Microsoft products that you're probably already familiar with. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, Teams, Outlook. And there's an online version and a desktop version. And that's really the summation of the important information of what is Office 365. Well, I just got the email today in March 30 of 2020 that Office 365 is changing its name. It's changing its name to Microsoft 365. So in a lot of the documentation in all of our previous Tech Nuggets, you'll see it called Office 365. You'll, of course, still see Office 365 around the net, but it is now known as Microsoft 365. World changes fast in software. We'll see you for the next Tech Nugget.